as soon as possible. So he came and he talked to me like for the next 3 or 4 days and trying to talk me into staying in. And I told him, why would I? And you talk and that, and I told him, I said, that's an insult to me to tell me if I don't get in trouble in 6 months. When my history, because I've already did 4 years, I was on my 5th year. I said, and I've been in the military these years and never been in trouble, never been in any type of situation. So you're gonna say 6 months? So in my mind, that's an insult for you to even say that to me. And that's what I told the first sergeant. So I told him, I said, the only thing I want to do is I just want to get out. And I want to get out as soon as possible. So when he saw I was standing firm on what I said and how I felt, then he started the paperwork. And that's how I got out the military. And I got out on an honorable, because if he would have told me no, then I would have did my next 4 years, because I had just I was on my first year where I re-enlisted for another 4 years. So I would have did 8 years total. If I would re-enlisted after that, I don't know. But I had just started my second term. I was in my first year of my second term. So that's what happened to me in the military. So I went to plane, I did that, and when we got back to the States, I started the paperwork and divorced that woman, which was my son's mother. And she did a lot of stupid stuff. We women, come on. You know, she did a lot of stupid stuff, tied to be controlling, going back to court, all that foolishness. You know the foolishness that women do, because they know that child support is on their side. They know that all they have to do is say this, A, B, C, D, and E, and child support is going to support what they say. And the male is the one that's going to have to suffer for what the woman does. There's no secret. We all know that. Okay, so I paid my child support. When my son was living with me through the summertime, she never went to child support and told him, well, you need to lower his pay, or during these months, don't take money from him because my son is living with him during the summer. She never did that. She took the money gladly and accepted every penny gladly. But I didn't want to go to child support and say anything, because when I was on child support when I first started, my income was lower, a lot lower. But as the years, then my income was up a lot higher. So I figured if I go and say something, then they ain't going to do nothing but raise up my child support, because it's a system that I never trusted. So that's why I never went to child support. And I just say, let me leave it like this, do what I got to do, and then when he turns 18 years old, I ain't even got to pay it no more. And that's what I did. And then after child support was over, they sent me like 3 checks, child support. So fast forward. I get a call from my brother in Detroit saying I got a letter from the friend of the court. I'm like, a letter from the friend of the court? So he mailed it to me, because I wasn't living in Detroit anymore. I haven't lived in Detroit since I left to go into the military. So he forwarded and mailed it to me. I got a letter in the mail from the friend of the court, from the friend of the court back in Detroit, saying that I owe child support. That I owe child support from 1989 from a woman named Marsha Hughes. A woman I never met in my life. Don't have a clue who it was. Now, if that child support letter came, say like some years before that, then I would have been like, man, I would have been a little worried, because I'd be like, man, well, I was dating different women back then. I was sexually active with different women back then, you know. But I knew in 1989 I was married to my son's mother, and I never cheated on her during that time. I never cheated on her. And then I never knew a woman named Marsha Hughes. Never met. If she can come in this store right here today, and I wouldn't even know. She can come in this store right here today. She live in Detroit, but if this woman could come in this store right here today, buy something out the store, come here to the register and pay for it, and I can give her change, or if she pay by credit or whatever, and walk right out of this store, and I wouldn't even know that was her. So I get a letter from child support, and they saying that I owe, and this amount that I'm about to mention that I'm going to say to you is true. It's not exaggeration. They said child support back in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, was saying that I owe child support back payments of $129,000. $129,000 is what child support was saying I owe in back payments to this woman named Marsha Hughes. Oh my goodness, what? And then I'm telling myself, I don't know no Marsha Hughes. Who in the world is this? How in the world did this even happen? So I get on the phone, I call child support down in Michigan. I'm telling them the situation. I don't know a woman named Marsha Hughes. Y'all must be mistaken. So the lady look at my records and it says, yeah, Tommy Charles. She got Social Security number and everything. So I'm telling her that I don't know a woman named Marsha Hughes, never met her. So, and I'm telling her, and my son, I raised my son. I didn't have stuff. I said they were in my life. I take care of my children, so I'm telling them my credibility. I was in my child's life when they was coming and took on children that wasn't mine by bloodline. You see, and I raised them. I'm talking about mentally, physically, kicking knowledge to them, relationship. I'm talking about a relationship with them. I'm not talking about buying and trying to win their love with buying. I'm talking about I had a relationship with my children. You see, and my son and the ones that wasn't mine. So I'm telling the lady my credibility. So she said, well, just write a letter, send it in. She told me what to address it to and send it in. So I got off the phone with her and that's what I did. Wrote a letter, situation, letting them know that I am a man of standard and a man of credibility. And that I'm never been a deadbeat father. Never, ever. So I sent that. 2 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail from child support saying you still owe $129,000 in back child support. So the letter did no good. So I called the friend of the court again back in Michigan, in Detroit, and I told him, hey, I sent the letter in, and y'all still saying I owe the money. So I talked to him. So the bottom line is, they had me and said I had to pay $129,000. In my mind, I'm saying I could be a multi-millionaire or a multi-billionaire. I still don't want to pay $129,000 to a woman that I don't know and that I never met in my life. So that's when I started trying to get an attorney. I said, I got to get out this situation. Then they started, and then on top of that, they started garnishing my money. They started taking half of my money. They started taking. Yeah, they started taking. I had like 6 credit cards at that time. My payments was always paid, everything. Credit good, credit cards paid, payments, everything paid on time. My credit score was good. They taking half of my money now, going towards this $129,000 that they said I owe to a woman that I never met in my life. Couldn't even tell you her skin complexion. So I'm calling different attorneys, and I was living out of state, so I went to one attorney. Nobody said nothing to me, but I went to one attorney. One attorney said I can't help you. That you have to get an attorney back in Michigan and Detroit because of the jurisdiction. And he said he only had jurisdiction in this state. You got to get somebody to have a jurisdiction in Michigan. So that's when I started calling different attorneys back in Michigan. And even who you all call a black woman, you know, and like people that know me know that I know that we're Hebrews. So even an attorney of my own culture, because after I explained my situation to her, she knew I was in a desperate situation. They taking my pay. They taking over. I think they were taking a little over half of my pay. 5 credit cards, I had to let them go because I couldn't afford to pay them anymore because they taking my pay. But I couldn't let them repossess my car because I got to get back and forth to work and all that. So my money was like because they taking over half of my pay. You see? So this attorney of my own culture said, you know what, I'm going to help my brother out. I'm not talking about free or whatever, but she hijacked the price and said I got to pay her $25,000. Now she's saying I have to pay her $25,000 for her to represent me. So I said no thank you because I couldn't afford $25,000. So I called other attorneys, and because of my situation, after I explained my situation to them, and they knew I was in a desperate situation and a messed up situation, you know, they tried to take advantage and say, quoting me prices up here, $20,000, $15,000. And I was telling them all, even the young lady, the woman that was on my culture that was an attorney. I said, why would I have to pay that much when I can prove real easily that during that time when these children were born, I was in Germany. I was in Germany. I wasn't even in Detroit. I can go get my military papers, my discharge papers. I can get my papers and show you. I was in Germany during that time. Easy. They still tried to overcome. And sure enough, I kept calling and I come in contact with the Caucasian attorney. They was fair like crazy. Price was very reasonable. Very, very reasonable. So I know that had to be a movement of the Most High blessing me, and I thank him for that. So that's the attorney I went with. Now, in the process, after he did the paperwork, filed the motions and all that type of stuff that he had to do, I'm traveling back and forth to Detroit because I started having court dates. So the first 3 court dates, I would get to Detroit, and then I would find out that the court date was canceled. My court date was canceled. So after like 3 times, then that's when I was like, man, did this attorney scam me? You know what I'm saying? I was like, because I never met him. Everything we ever did, me sending him the money and paying all that stuff, all of that was done on the phone. You see what I'm saying? And electronically. You know what I'm saying? So I never even met the attorney. I didn't even know what he looked like. Yeah, seriously. But that's how I had to do it. But every time I went to court, I would get a letter, the court date, is this date. But when I get to Detroit, it was canceled. So I made 3 or 4 trips to Detroit for nothing. So now I'm like, oh my goodness, this attorney scammed me. That's why his prices were so reasonable. This is what I'm thinking in my mind, right? So I'm like, be honest with you, my mind was like, I'm going to get this fella. Because I have short patience for people that scam. So I get another date, and the attorney called me and he tells me, say, you don't have to come to Detroit for that date. He said, we can do everything. You can just be on the phone. So I was like, cool. So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, thank you, cool. So the time came. I got on my phone. And I had to call, in the court. So the court session was happening. And instead of me just being there personally, I was on the phone. And I was in my mind, I'm like, please don't let this phone disconnect. Please, please don't let this phone disconnect. So when and I was on the phone for probably about an hour. And then the judge called my case. And I was on the phone and I, went through the process, all sweared in, blah, blah, blah. So I had the opportunity to explain my situation to the judge. So I explained everything to the judge as far as me being in Germany when these children were supposed to be born. I never knew of Marsha Hughes, never met her, had no type of relationship with her at all. I don't know her from anybody. I don't know her from the people that I know over in Russia. You see, so I explained it in all details, and I think I did a real good job in explaining myself to the judge. Do you know, on top of that, they had a prosecuting attorney. But I don't know if I'm using, but prosecuting attorney. But I'll say an attorney that was against me, that had to speak after me to tell the court that no, this man, me, need to stay on child support and pay that $129,000. I'm like, oh my goodness. In my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, this system is evil. Evil, wicked, and sinful. How you gonna have another attorney? I just explained my situation. I'm not lying. I could prove. I'm proving this. I was in Germany because I sent all that information to my attorney. So he presented it all in the court. When I went into the military, when I got out the military, all of that. And then they still have an attorney that's standing up to try to keep me on child support. So after that prosecuting attorney finished speaking, the judge asked me more questions. I'm always happy to speak for myself. I'm always happy not to leave other people to speak for me, because I'm very qualified to speak and express myself. The Most High has blessed me with like that, and I appreciate it. So after that prosecuting attorney finished speaking, I was able to speak behind her, and I said everything that I had to say to the judge, and I made it really clear and understandable to the judge. And the judge ended up ruling in my favor. Ooh, I'm telling you, ruling in my favor. Oh, it's like a weight came off of me. Them credit cards that was in delinquent and failed, that wasn't, I didn't care nothing about that. And I was just so happy to be relieved to get off the hook of owing $129,000. You see, because to be honest with you, I'm like, I ain't paying no money to nobody, no woman I didn't know. I was like, I'll quit all my jobs. I would go and live on the street and be homeless before I pay $129,000 to a woman that I don't know. I'll be paying that for the rest of my life. And then if I become a multi-millionaire or a multi-millionaire, I still don't want to pay a woman no money to a woman I don't know. So thank the Most High, the judge ruled in my favor. But then the judge was saying, and I'm gonna tell you this. The judge said something to let me know that I wasn't gonna get all my money back, all the money that they've been taking and garnishing from me. And you know, I was all right with, you know, paying that, you know, because I wasn't all right with it. But then to comfort myself during the process when it was garnishing my money, I had told myself, so I said, well, it ain't no problem. I'm just looking at it as a savings. They just taking all this money from me. And then when the time come, I can prove that I didn't know this woman, and they'll just refund me all my money back. That's it. That's what I thought. So I was cool with it. That's why I dealt with it, and I was calm mentally, because that's how I looked at it. But when the judge ruled in my favor, the judge told me that we're just going to send you 2 or 3 payments that you paid, and the rest of the money you have to get from her, the woman Marsha Hughes. Oh my goodness. But I'm still very happy and relieved that I'm off the hook and I don't have to pay $129,000. But what I'm going to do anyway, the court just said they're going to reimburse me 2 or 3 payments, and I have to get the rest of the money from a woman named Marsha Hughes. I already did the research on this woman named Marsha Hughes back in Detroit. She was on welfare. She lived in a rough area of Detroit, and she had 5 children by like 4 different men. That woman is not in no condition to pay me back my money. So I already knew that. And to get my money and sue her, I had to get another attorney to sue her, and some money that I'm never going to get because she can't afford to pay me my money. So all I would have ended up doing was just paying an attorney. So I had to just let it go. And take it as a loss. But my happiness was I didn't have to pay $129,000. So the system, you ask me, in child support is evil to the core, wicked and sinful, and it's for men. Women